So, how is everyone? I hope you're all well. This is a little bit of a change to what I had scheduled. But I thought to myself, you know what? I think it's something that everybody needs to know. So, for those of you who have not already seen it, this is for you. And look, I can't take the credit for this. The link to this video is going to be in the description, and that is a video that can be found over on Crime and Truth and Transparency. Got there in the end. Truth and Transparency. I believe the creator over there is Elantra. I don't rarely look at a lot of channels or take a lot of notice of who the people are individually, but I do get sent a lot of videos, and when a video comes up that I think contains some news that people should be aware of, then I will of course share them. And this piece of information is specific to Emma Bailey and this Demetrius Robinson. Now, I did a video on this pair the other day, based on kind of a rabbit hole that my man JB Gunner had gone down because of JLR. So this has been a little bit of a chain of events that has led people to look at these two individuals. Some people will say that, look, they've got nothing to do with it, and, you know, this is just indeed a rabbit hole. But Lana has been digging, and she's come across some information with regards to Demetrius's brother. Now, as a side note, just in case you are, for some reason, unaware who Demetrius and Emma is. Now, Demetrius and Emma are a couple who have recently been arrested due to the supply of what would appear to be fentanyl that led to the death of a youngster who was an ex-fraternity president. Now, Emma supposedly, I've not been able to confirm it, but supposedly Emma was friends with somebody who was Maddie's roommate. And it would appear that there is indeed proof, and I am 99.99995% sure that the video does indeed show Emma and this other girl at 1122 King Road at one of these infamous parties, and that is paired with a dash cam picture where Emma Bailey is with the same friend who she's seen with on another video at the house. And if you put the two together, they do indeed look pretty much identical, so I think that's a given. So we can pretty much say that Emma Bailey has a connection to 1122 King Road. But, so Demetrius Bailey is the person who she got with. He believes he's a bit of a gangster, bit of a Suge Knight, and his brother just so happens to have, or had, I don't know whether he has still got it to this day, because the video it doesn't give you that information, it's just look back. But 8 months ago, they definitely had a white Hyundai Elantra in the family. So it would appear that the white Hyundai Elantra, it's been said that it belongs to Demetrius Robinson's brother. Now, could that be a complete and utter coincidence? Complete and utter coincidence. Just so happens that someone who is a renowned drug dealer, involved now in the death of this young man, just so happens to have the same car that Bryan Kohberger does in the family. Look, you make your own mind up. But what I want to say is this, because some people turn around and say, look, this investigation's been done. It's been done. We've got this Bryan Kohberger. He's currently sitting there awaiting his preliminary hearing, eventually going to go to trial. We've got DNA on a knife sheath. We've got his car pretty much in the area, and we've got this period of time where his phone is shut down. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say at the moment, we have a white Hyundai Elantra in the footage. That's what we believe. We have a statement from James Fry, who was turning around and saying, and it could be nothing, but he is saying that he would like to speak to the occupants of the white Hyundai Elantra. So is it not out of the realms of possibility that the white Hyundai Elantra that he was referring to did indeed have more than one suspect in it? More than one occupant? And would it be not out of the realms of possibility that if that's the case, then those occupants could well have been Demetrius, Emma, and other people? Now, it might so happen that Bryan Kohberger was involved in this entire situation, and like I've said multiple times, a cog in a bigger machine. Now, people can keep sticking their head in the sand all they want, and look, it could just simply be that this is just a load of coincidences. But as we've seen in other cases, and we've said in other cases, when these coincidences start stacking up, it gets to that breaking point where you've got to think to yourself, is this really coincidence? I'm going to touch on something on here in a second with regards to DNA. Because, so we've got another dodgy couple with a white Hyundai Elantra connected to him and a connection that leads them to 1122 King Road. We've got what seems to be an undercurrent going through Moscow of narcotics. And again, you stick your head in the sand and say it don't exist, but it does exist. They've got a problem with it. And we've got this house where these murders happened that was seemingly a house that people wanted to be at. I'm not saying it's the only one, but this is the house where everything happened. This is the house that the crime took place. This is the place where we see the parties and the noise complaints and everything. Do you know what I mean? And maybe if that had happened in another house, we'd have seen the same thing over there. But we have to focus our attention here. We hear the audio, and I've said it again. The audio that would point towards that there was a conversation where something was said, Jack was told everything, and someone was going to be got for something. And a few hours later, people are dead. That's as serious as it gets. As serious as it gets. There is nothing that we've seen that 100% states that that car in that camera footage is Bryan Kohberger's. And the only reason they're saying that is because they're trying to pair that car being in that area with him switching his phone off in another area for a certain duration of time. And what they're saying is there's speculation that this must be your car in Moscow, Idaho. We believe that's your car because your phone was not telling us where you were between this time and this time. So when you pair those two events together, we don't know where you were, but a car that seems to belong to you is here. You can see where things are going to look suspicious. But let's not forget, there is nothing in that camera footage that proves that that car is his. It just doesn't. And yes, it does look dodgy if you think, well, why was your phone not pinging where you were, your location, between this time, and you just happen to have a white Hyundai Elantra, and there's what seems to be a white Hyundai Elantra on the camera footage here. And you can see where all these things then start pointing in a certain direction. Now, I put it to you that these things they knew were not going to be enough. They knew it weren't going to be enough because it could be put down to just speculation. You don't know that car belongs to Bryan Kohberger. In that footage of the white Hyundai Elantra, you cannot see Bryan in it. And you can only speculate that his phone not pinging his location means that that's him. That's speculation. And it wouldn't go towards putting him potentially on death row. So they needed a smoking gun. And then we have the DNA. on that sheath, which was touch DNA. And this is where this comes in. So this is a case that is 30 odd years old. And this is the case of young Nikki Allen. She was a young girl, 7-year-old girl who was killed. And her mum was dragged through the shit for years. They pulled her apart, much like you're seeing with Don Wells, Candace Bly, all that. Now, whether that's deserved in the Candace Bly and Don Wells, who knows? That case is still one that bugs me, the Summer Wells case. But the guy who did it has now been found 30 years later, David Boyd. And they matched DNA from the crime scene. There was 4 microscopic DNA points left under the armpit of the victim and on the cycling shorts. And that's 30 years later. 30 years later, 4 microscopic traces of DNA that pinned him to the crime scene. And it took 30 years for him to get justice. So we're believing that Bryan Kohberger went into this house, he'd done all of this. Done all of this murder. The only piece of DNA that they could find was on the button snap of this K-bar knife. Maybe there's more, and maybe this is just another rabbit hole. Maybe it is. But these kids, well, I say kids, young adults, people want them to be seen as kids when they talk about why people won't call a 911. They want you to perceive them as too young and stupid to understand that 911 gets police to the house. But they deserve justice, and they deserve to have every single stone unturned. Let me know what you think. Because like I say, when you look at it all, and look how this case has been put together against Bryan Kohberger, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing online, there's many people who say he's weird, or and that's it. He's a bit weird, socially awkward. But we've got people saying that there was brilliance in him. There's a PhD student, one of only 2 who had been put forward for that. We've seen his interactions with law enforcement. We've seen his interactions with females. And yes, he looks normal. To me. A little bit socially awkward, but he doesn't look like a killer. But we've said there isn't really a way that a killer specifically looks. But now we've got 2 people who are renowned drug dealers and involved in that lifestyle, and they have a white Hyundai Elantra, access to it, and we have James Fry, who was originally looking for the occupants of said car. I will say, I think that the lengths that people will go to protect the reputation of loved ones is often misunderstood, and perhaps it's not given the full understanding that it should, because we hear lots of stories, where people unalive themselves. They might be found with a golf ball in the mouth and a banana up their arse, but you don't hear their family and friends saying, Dave was upset, he unalived himself and he put a banana up his arse. You don't hear that, because people will hide stuff that could potentially hurt their reputation. There was an 8-hour gap between when this happened and 911 were called. We have an undercurrent of narcotics flowing through Moscow. We have renowned drug dealers and the aforementioned connections to 1122 King Road with the very car that Moscow Police Department were looking for. And now we seemingly have Bryan Kohberger, who was from Washington State University, PhD student, socially awkward. He's the man pinned for the crime. Let me know down below what you think. Head over to Lana at Truth and Transparency I'll get there in a minute. And I'll catch you all in the next one.